The agenda for today, we're just going to be going over all the various highlights of the products. These are the major enhancements that we think we need to be highlighted. We'll start out with the usability enhancements of the product, talk about posting order changes in the product, save and load post enhancements. Then we'll go into hole making enhancements and specifically 5-axis drilling method that has been added. A new method has been added. And then we also talk about changes in the 2-axis machining methods. Laser tools has been added, allows you to do laser machining operations. Negative offsets and face-off. It's some minor enhancement in the face-off operation. And then 3-axis machining, high-speed machining, which is a really nice enhancement to the facing toolpath. In fact, this high-speed machining enhancements also percolates its way down to the 2-axis machining as well. So that's a pretty really nice enhancement for people machining hard materials. Then for mold makers, this might be of interest. Tool contact condition has been added for surface-based machining, and Don is going to be spending some time on that and showing the toolpath differences in the tool paths. And then exact Z-level distances have also been added. We'll talk a little bit about 4-axis machining changes, and then 5-axis machining, some minor changes there as well, and then finally licensing changes. So without any further delay, Don, do you want to take over?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Glad you could join us this morning. We're real excited to release our 2024 product, and I think you're going to like what you see. Let's start out with the usability enhancements. As Joe mentioned, I'm going to start on the left and work my way over to the right. We implemented posting order based on tool numbers. So previously, users would have to jiggle around their CAM operations based on the tools if they, wanted to minimize the number of tool changes. Well, now you don't have to do that. It will sort for you based on the options we see here. You can post based on the order that they currently appear in the machining job, and then you can post by increasing or decreasing order of the tool number. And then below that, we also added the ability to always load and save the post with the file. There's been a lot of user support questions about post. My post is missing, or it's different, it's not posting right. These two options will ensure that you have the post with the file, that it belongs with the file, and it never gets changed based on any other parameter. So that's a good option right there. And in the middle, as I mentioned, the post priority, you can change that. And then if we look over to the right, when you actually post a machining job with the tool priority enabled, it'll alert you at the top and then actually post based on the T numbers, T1, T2, T3, etc. Now, we did add the ability to drill in 5-axis, which is pretty exciting. Previously, you could only drill, I guess, would be indexed 5-axis operations where you'd, lock the plane in place and then do your drilling. Now you can do it actually in 5-axis. So that was a good enhancement there. If any questions, just put them in the questions area and we'll answer them. Now, for 3-axis enhancements, this is a pretty good enhancement here. If you look at where the arrows are, we're looking at horizontal roughing, and we're looking at the clearance plane tab in the cut transfer method. So the clearance plane definition in this example is set to automatic. And then below that, we have the cut transfer method set to skim, but we've also added a checkbox here to include the in-process stock in the calculation of the skim clearance. So if you look at the arrows over here, you'll see that in the areas where the tool had to transverse above the part, it applied the skim clearance to the highest position on the part. But if it didn't have to span over the part, it calculated the skim clearance based on the cut level. So if you see these small retracts right here and over here, that's what happens when you have this checkbox checked. Just an enhancement to help you maximize your machining time. If you have a rather complex part, as you can imagine, or may have run into, there's a lot of retracts up to the full clearance when it didn't need to be.
Oh, another note, actually, in previous releases, we were looking at the part geometry, only the part geometry, when we computed the skim clearance. So what Don is saying is absolutely correct in that the skim clearance moves will reduce your moves all the way up to the retract plane and thereby enabling faster machining. But what this enhancement does is it actually also introduces the in-process stock in the computation. So if you had a roughing operation done previously and there were chunks of stock in where you have the arrow that on this picture, let's say there was actually an in-process stock on the way. In previous releases, the system would have ignored the in-process stock and actually collided with the in-process stock. Now what it does is actually takes into consideration the in-process stock, and it would retract to the correct distance to avoid the in-process stock as well. So yeah, not only are you getting better, higher speeds in machining, but also much safer speeds now since the in-process stock is being considered.
Yep.
Thanks, Don.
Okay. Now here, this is a relatively minor enhancement, but it does contribute to maximizing the efficiency and the time required to do machining. What you're seeing here is the two-axis face top operation, where the tool is just basing the top of the part based on the highest level of the part. So as you can see over here on the right, we have a face mill, and it's just traversing left and right across the top of the part. Well, previously, the tool would go all the way past the part and clear, the edge of the part. Well, you don't really, if the tool is sufficiently large enough, or even regardless of what size the tool is, you can now bring that tool in closer to the part by entering a negative value in the cut area extension. So if you look at the dialog, the icon right here in the dialog, what this operation does is it adds distances to the maximum size of the part in the stock. So previously you could only add values or add distance to the tool path, move it out, but you could never move it in. So now you can enter a negative value here, and that'll tighten up your tool paths and save you a little bit of time. Now also, as Joe mentioned, we enhanced the high-speed machining and 2.5 axis spacing. So not only do you have the high-speed tool paths at the cut level, but you also now have the high-speed entries at the entry and exit level. So you can see these arc motions right here where the arrows are pointing to. So it adds a high-speed entry at each cut level and a high-speed exit, as well as the high-speed path itself. Now this one, I like this one as well, because previously, if you may have run into this, if you're doing 3-axis horizontal finishing, you didn't always have exact control over the distance between the cut levels. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, it calculated the overall distance and then overall cut depth, and then divided that by, the maximum distance, and then it would fluctuate in between that. And I know I probably messed that up a little bit, Joe. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what the system was doing before was using the step-down control distance and computing integral number of cuts between the top and the bottom Z levels. So you would always get a cut at the top, and you would always get a cut at the bottom. And this way, and you would get, obviously, it's integral number of cuts, so to ensure that you would get a cut at the top, at the bottom. And since this requirement actually forced the system to recompute the actual step-down distance to be slightly smaller in many cases than the actually specified distance. Some users, what they wanted is, they didn't want the system to actually change that distance at all. They wanted these cut levels to be exactly as they specified. And in the 2024 version, you can do that, but the problem with that, obviously, is you will not get a cut level at the bottommost cut. So, that's the trade-off here. So, but in some situations, the exact cut levels are important to customers, so that's why we added this enhancement.
Yeah, and also just look at these two images. The one on the right is in version 23, where the cut levels didn't fall exactly at the depth that the user specified. In this case, which is a distance of 1 millimeter. If you look at this example part, it's just a stack, topographical stack of surfaces at 1 millimeter intervals. So now you can actually set the distance at 1 and check this box here, and it'll maintain exactly that distance, as you can see over here under the 2024 image right here. Now, this is one that goes to my heart specifically, because I've always felt that we needed better contact conditions for mold makers, specifically around the parting lines. And in version 23, the default condition was the on condition, meaning that I'm going to show this a little bit better in the part file demo, but in the on condition, the tool axis in the tip of the tool, when it aligned itself with the perimeter curve that you're machining, it would stop. And for cavity, parts that have cavities, the tool is actually rolling up over the parting line, which is a big no-no. Tool makers do not like to see that tool ride that parting line. So in 24, we added a new condition called the contact. So whenever the tip, for example, if you're using a ball mill, whenever the machining ball of the tool makes contact with that perimeter edge of the surface, it stops, and then starts going, in the reverse direction, or where it's supposed to go, opposite that direction. So just if you look in these simulations, you'll see that down below in previous versions, the tool was riding up on the parting line and actually messing up the parting line. And you would see that in your actual molded parts, which is not good. So on top, we see the 2024 contact condition, nice, clean cut around the parting line. Previously, in order to get that, we actually added masking surfaces or guide surfaces to help guide the tool past the parting line. Now you don't have to do that for a specific set of cavities. So I'm going to show this as well. Now also, we allowed you to machine and change the rotational axis of 4-axis machining to the positive Z and negative Z axis. For instance, in this dialog over here in the machining dialog, we have the machine set to 5-axis, but we have the 4th axis rotation set to plus Z or minus Z, and check this box down here to use that for the 4-axis machining operations. Previously, we did not support the rotational axis in the plus or minus Z axis of the part. Now this one here, it's a relatively, well, I would say relatively minor enhancement, but it comes in really handy if you're doing indexed 5-axis operations. So you see this this part over here on the right. We do some index machining, and each one of the setups here is an indexed position and 5-axis. So what we've added is the ability to recalculate the angles that the tool would take in order to get from each of these fixed positions. And we added that without the need to recalculate the entire machining job.
So a quick clarification, I think Don said tool, but it's really the machine tool. The angles, the axis angles of the machine tool is what he's talking about. And that happens, the reason we would need that is if you reorder the operations inside of a setup, the machine angles are not automatically recomputed because they're computed only when you do the simulation of the toolpath. But when you post it, if the machine angles are incorrectly inherited from the previous operation, you might have a problem because the tool might collide with something along the way. So that's why we've added this enhancement to make sure that the angles are all coherent going from one operation to another.
As they appear in the machining job, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Now, this one, Joe, you want to take over and talk about the licensing enhancements?
So we've enhanced the licensing for network licensing. This is typically for larger commercial instances as well as educational institutes. So we've added this new interface around what we had, the network license manager or the license server application, and this makes it a lot easier for IT people to actually install our network lock license on their systems. And I'll talk a little bit about it. Are we going to be talking about this later, Don? Or
I think we do have a slide where you take over and talk about it if you.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk later then after your demo.
Okay.